Oh, the Valkyrie maiden's cry, says Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson. Cold wind to Valhalla, minstrel in the gallery. Hello, my name is Sven Quinlan, the Norse rower. The Viking episode, because we're a pack of barbarians, eh? Oh, tonight, hello, my real name is Chris Quinlan, and welcome to Melbourne Musos Facechook Live. And this is, as I said, the Viking version. I'm talking about all things Norse gods. Odin. So, what I'm going to talk about is Viking culture and all sorts of different things like that. And their instruments and the way they pillaged. I'll turn this stuff off. I've got my notes here. Hang on. Oh, who's that violin player? Oh, he's very angry and angular. There you go. Anyway, so what happens is, yes, Vikings. Vikings are very popular in culture. Very dramatic. TV series, all sorts of different kinds of music. And what I'll do now is talk about them a little bit here. I've got my notes here. I'm going to talk about the Vikings and the barbarian. Oh, let's see what we have here. Oh, come on. I had it up just before. Like a story of my life. Vikings is the modern name given to seafaring people, primarily from Scandinavia, present-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, who from the late 8th to the late 11th centuries raided, pirated, traded, and pillaged, and settled throughout parts of Europe. They also voyaged as far as the Mediterranean, North Africa, and the Middle East, and North America. In some of the countries they raided and pillaged and settled in. This period is popularly known as the Viking Age. And the term Viking also commonly includes the inhabitants of the Scandinavian homelands as a collective whole. The Vikings had a profound impact on the early medieval history of Scandinavia, the British Isles, France, Estonia, and Kievan Rus. There you go, there's the start. They were expert sailors. And what happens is, what I would like to do now is talk about some of the instruments and things. I have a few things, of course, from behind the drums. There's a couple of things I need to do. And one of the main things is as far as being able to talk about Viking and Nordic instruments. So much of it came from what they pillaged and slaughtered, their venison and what. And it came from, so the first big thing is the horn. Got to have a big horn, mate. It'll come back. There it is. Sven. Yes. We have to go pillage and see Barbarion tonight. That is the horn, big horn like that. Oh, hello. There we are. That is the horn. There you have it. And what happens, that is essentially a hollowed out, honestly, it is the horn of an animal, hollowed out, and they would play it. Now, some had, sometimes they drilled holes, sometime for that, so you get, like you'd be able to play various notes. But what happens, think of a bugle where there is no valves, okay? So your lips and your breath and embouchure would play or you'd do harmonics. So what would happen is, if you're playing in C, G, C, and so on, Sven, take some singing lessons from Hilda, sort of thing. Anyway, or from Matilda, his favourite wife. And what goes on is that when you are playing the horn, it's used to signal. It's used to signal your troops, your fellow Vikings, to round up, do this, or it's sent to, here comes the Viking ship, the longboat, and on it goes like that. And what happens with this, I'll take the things out, I'm coming back to that because that's the harmony. What happens is that when you're doing things like that, they're sending signals. Sometimes they're huge, that kind of thing. And when you put holes in them, okay, over a period of time, it started to become quite tonal. And one of the things that happens is that then it would be a kind of a flute. And you would put the holes in from smaller animals or animal bones. There's a lot of pillaging. Everything's to do with like that. Pillage. And what would happen is that when you were playing something like that, funnily enough, when you're dealing with just those tones, it might only be 4 holes. Well, you've got the fundamental, and then you have 4 holes. And usually they would be the pentatonic, and usually the minor pentatonic in my research today, which is the first, the flat. I'll put it there. The first, the flat third, the fourth, the fifth, the flat seventh, and the octave. You can't go wrong. Every note is correct. You see, no risk. That's why it's the most popular in the world. And what would happen is that they would play that. Now, what I've got here is I'll go to the pentatonic, and what have I got here? Okay, I'll do that one. And what often happens is that they would also have what is known as a targelharpa, which is a harp. Targel. Oh, I love the language. Oh, it's very nice. I like it a lot. Anyway, so what happens? What's going on here, mate? Over there. And this is a harp. Very similar to what I was doing for St. Paddy's Day. And that's a pentatonic, minor pentatonic, if you don't mind umpire. Some of the things that they do is that you've got that, and what would happen is that you'd have a kind of a tonal drone down below. And one of the things that they did was they had a little thing called a jaw harp. Everyone has a jaw harp, even in Nashville. Let me move it around a little bit. Jaw harp. Oh yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's the jaw harp. And what happens with that is that you'd have a fundamental going, like a tonal little thing happening there. That was in C. And what goes on with that is that as you do that, there's a lot of continuity with this, because we could go to our own dear people, our indigenous. I'm filming this on Birrarung country, with all respect and everything, and they would have doing that with their didgeridoo. You see, beautiful. And that's what happens. There's a continuity throughout the world. There's a kind of connection with all the people. We're all one big family, aren't we? Back to pillaging. So what goes on is that is that one there. And what I was doing then, that's when I'm doing, that's a it's a Aaarrrrggghhh harp, and what happens, it's very close to a Celtic harp, any kind of harp. I've got an orchestral harp up here. I could put that in if I wanted, if you wanted me to. And what happens with this is just as brutal and pillaging as they can be. What can also happen is some of their soaring melodies from the Valkyrie maidens. That's a straight quote from Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull, Cold Wind to Valhalla. Side 1, track 2 on the vinyl. And the Valkyrie maidens cry. On a cold wind to Valhalla. And I'm bringing up one of my favorite apps. They had their softer side. That little bit of stuff. Lead singer, Matilda, my favourite wife. I pinched it from them. And there you have it. There. Now, what happens is when you are dealing with this kind of beautiful music, and one of the funny things about Viking kind of music, though, in excavations they've actually found the instruments, but they haven't, there's no kind of, apart from one famous thing, there's not a lot to be said. Well, what did they actually play on it and all that? And one of the things that they had was a little thing called, what they found, and I found it and I sourced it, it's called, I hope I'm saying it properly, but Dromti Migendron, I dreamed a dream of a dream. There you go. Da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum. There you go. So what happens is there's a lot of similarities to Celtic music, isn't there? They all come from the same area. Yeah. And what goes on is that it's a wonderful coincidence, you see, between, St. Paddy's Day and all that Northern Europe, that Nordic kind of area. And one of the things about that very famous tune that is on, it's been found on old manuscript and stuff, is that it's minor. Okay, so, let's talk about the minors a little bit and what we do to create this kind of music. Now, when you're talking about that particular piece, what happens, it's a natural minor, and it is the sixth step of a major scale. So what we know best is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, the octave. But in modal terminology, it's called the Aeolian mode. And there you have that. And essentially, it's from the sixth step. However, some of the things that can happen from that, and when you're listening to some of the more contemporary Scandinavian and the lovely Valkyrian maidens and all that, there's a lot of harmonic minor, you see. And what that is as far as the minor scale goes, you sharpen the seventh, you see. Now, I happen to have the G harmonic minor here, and I'll put that back onto the targelharpa. That's better. Yeah. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that little ditty. That is in G harmonic minor. There you have it. And that's what sort of goes on when you're listening to more contemporary things with the soaring voices in the mountains and doing all this kind of calling to their animals and all that. Just go, and away you go, you see, that kind of business there. And while the men are off pillaging, hang on, I think I've got it there. Oh, well, I'm keeping myself amused tonight. Hey! And so what happens also is that you also have, when the Vikings are playing their drums, it's very much like the Irish Bowron, and that one over there. And what happens? Something like that. You get that kind of Celtic kind of thing, but it's Northern Europe. That's what you have there. I'm going to read a little bit more now. Yep. Let's get back into it. I bet you have to put my code back in again. Oh, come on. No, I don't have to. Expert sailors and navigators aboard their characteristic long ships. Vikings established Norse settlements and governments in the British Isles, Ireland, the Faroe Islands, Iceland, Greenland, Normandy, the Baltic coast, and along the Dnieper and Volga trade routes. I changed that to Volga trade routes. And modern-day Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, where they were also known as Varangians. The Normans, Norse Gaels, Rus people, Faroese and Icelanders emerged from these Norse colonies. The Vikings also voyaged to Constantinople, Iran and Arabia. They were the first Europeans to reach North America, briefly settling in Newfoundland, Vinland. While spreading Norse culture to foreign lands, they simultaneously brought home slaves, sadly, concubines, and foreign cultural influences to Scandinavia, profoundly influencing the genetic and historical development of both. During the Viking Age, the Norse homelands were gradually consolidated from smaller kingdoms into three larger kingdoms, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. There you go. And the Vikings spoke Old Norse and made inscriptions in runes. For most of the period, they followed the Old Norse religion, but later became Christians. The Vikings had their own laws, art, and architecture. There you go. I'll stop there for a little bit. And so much. I mean, even just the other week, I pulled out an old Viking thing. The Vikings, with Kirk Douglas and Tony Curtis, both fighting over Janet Leigh. And one of the great quotes was, love and hate, two horns on the same goat. Isn't it true? So there you go. Okay, I better start wrapping the show up. This is going to be a bit of a shorter one. I usually go to about 40 minutes and have all sorts of troubles trying to cut it down for Channel 31. What I did with the St. Paddy's Day show is, I could either cut off 15 minutes and have only just the edited version, or I could add 10 and have 2. That's what I did. But I just want to make one tonight, and I don't want to really cut anything out of it, so I'll keep it fairly short. But basically what happens is, what I've talked about is the instruments. I've done a little bit of playing for you. I've talked about the history of the Nordic regions, and also a little bit about the harmony, minor pentatonic and the natural minor, and the harmonic minor. When you're talking about minors, when they came around, there's some songs there and it's like, oh, we're doing the Phrygian mode, are we? Well, that's the Spanish influence there. And that's really comes from the third step of the major scale, but that's really picking up culture from their pillaging. And so what goes on is that there's that. So much of their stuff too, their rhythms, is very much often known here as a calypso. That's one of the safer names. There's many names for it depending on what country you're in. Just don't say the wrong name in the wrong country. Come here, comrade. And what happens here is, if we think of it like that, it's like a 3-3-2. Oh, I should do some battle music, shouldn't I? Hey. Oh, yeah, there. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, so often used. I've done it on the show before as a request when I was taking requests. I still can. It's just that things change. Then I got all of a sudden when I started doing Facechook Live. The first thing I was doing was just saying, "Ask me a question, I'll get it done." Stump the teacher. And then I got a bit of kit to make it, rather than camera phone, I made it, the mix that I put up for all my stuff, and for Channel 31. And then it became part of the show, and then I got asked to do it all at the Alex Theatre for a while there during lockdown numbers, whatever it was, seeing that we've had our 2nd anniversary just this week. There you go. No one really wants to talk about it, do they? But the beat that has no name is 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. And what it is, it's 4 threes making 12/8, and then another 4. It's still 4/4. It's just subdivided. So you get. Where's my war? Come on, give me my war. There we are. Pillage, pillage, pillage. And there it is. And what happens in closing, there's all these different little things you can do, you see. So that last one, I'll just go over again. It doesn't have a name. It's used all over. So you get 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. There you go. So that's what goes on. All right, I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm off to see Barbarian tonight. I'm going to leave my editing for tomorrow. One of the other things I missed before is that they would use bells and all that to ward off the evil spirits from their children. Hey, oh. Here we go. Let's get that angry string playback. Very frenetic. Hey, my name's Quinlan. This is Melbourne Musos Facechook Live. All about the Vikings. Pillage, pillage, pillage. I'll have all this up tomorrow sometime. Hey, ho, ho. Go out and see a band. Oh, ho. Arr.